Thanks, guys, for joining us today at the Selling North Georgia podcast. I'm Corey Shields.
I'm Michael Williams.
And today we are here with Mr. Brad Ramsey of First National Community Bank. Brad, thank you for being here.
Absolute pleasure.
So let's just get right to it.
Okay.
First National Community Bank, how would you describe that to the general public, and what are you up to over there?
Yeah, so First National Community Bank, formerly known as First National Bank of Chatsworth,
Let's be honest, it's still known as First National Chatsworth.
To a lot of folks, especially in Chatsworth, it is. About 8 or 9 years ago, I guess it was, we changed the name to First National Community Bank. The thought process there was just, from a geographic standpoint, making sure our customers and prospects knew that we were more than just a Chatsworth bank. But we've been around since 1975. A lot of folks know us as Paul Ross's bank. Mm-hmm. Paul Ross is one of the founders. So we're in 2021 now, so 46 years going strong. We've got 10 offices, 2 loan production offices, 1 mortgage office. We're all local bankers. We've got a local board of directors. We make our decisions locally. We're the epitome of a true community bank. As far as what I do there, I'm my officer title, Senior Vice President. From a functional standpoint, I am a commercial lender. So I deal with primarily business clients, real estate investors, and just help folks buy assets, grow businesses, start businesses, and fund that growth.
Cool. So you said real estate investors. Corey and I are both investors and
Absolutely.
Have a ton of clients that are. So I want to invest in real estate, and I've never done it before.
Yeah.
I come to see you. What are you telling me?
So first question I'm going to ask is, what's your goals?
Okay.
So, goals can be, from an investor side, is it a fix and flip that you're wanting to get into, make a quick buck? Or is it a long-term hold situation where it's a rental property and you envision that being a portfolio property that you're, wanting to reap the benefits of cash flow?
Okay.
So once I understand that, my first piece of advice is simply build a team. Mm-hmm. And what I mean by that is I'm a big proponent of, there's 4 building blocks in my opinion. You got to have a good realtor, you got to have a good banker, you got to have a good CPA, and you've got to have a good attorney. So, that's going to be one of my first questions is tell me about your team. And from there, I like to say lending money or money from a bank standpoint, it's a commodity. Mm. Okay, it's green. Everybody's rates are going to be similar. Everybody's terms are going to be similar. So how do I distinguish myself? Accessibility and my knowledge is really what sets me apart from any other community banker in the area. From a knowledge standpoint, I've been there. Mm-hmm. I've done flips. I've been an investor myself. I know a lot of the pitfalls. I know a lot of the, the problem areas. I've had those 1 o'clock in the morning phone calls, septic tanks backing up and hot water heater quit and so forth. So I feel like I add value from that standpoint, especially to a new investor. Mm-hmm. and even a seasoned investor. I'm just another person to bounce an idea off of and not only lend money but lend advice.
Yeah, and I think there's so many people who want to get into flipping houses, especially Absolutely. With how popular it is on TV and everything.
Yeah.
So somebody who wants to get into that, what do they need to come to you with? I know you said to know who their team is, but What else do they have to prove to you to make you feel comfortable funding their deal?
I'm gonna look for experience. The hardest loan for me to make is somebody that comes to me with no cash and no experience. So I found this deal. And I can make $50,000 on it, but I got to move quick. Mm-hmm. Well, that makes things difficult if you have no cash and you've never done this before. Mm-hmm. So as far as
what might be even worse is if they have done it before and have no cash. It's
that's right. Wait a minute. That's exactly right.
This didn't work out like it was supposed to.
Yeah, or they blew all their cash on buying a new car or something like that.
Right.
So, go back to your question, Corey.
Just saying.
What do they bring you?
Yeah, what do they need to bring to you to prove to you, like, oh, I'll give you money. I feel good about this.
Yeah. Like I said, initially it's just that first conversation. You got to have a good gut feeling about somebody. If they've got their team built, maybe they've got some experience in renovating properties. Maybe they don't have any experience, but they're partnering with a general contractor or somebody that does have that experience. that first conversation is going to tell a lot. So assuming we get past the hurdle of, of the experience piece, well, then we got to talk about cash. And generally speaking, most banks are going to ask for 20% down. So do you have access to that cash, and where's it coming from, and so forth. But if you check the box of experience, you check the box of cash, we can kind of forward look a little bit on we were talking about a little while ago about projected income for that property. I do have the ability to project that income out so that I'm not just hitting that person with a debt on a non-income producing asset. So
right.
We can take that projected income into account. So
what about so if somebody's trying to get a traditional mortgage, FHA loan, whatever, in the residential world, and they're going to be scrutinized with their W-2s, how long had they worked at so-and-so place, do you have that same sort of criteria, or?
Somewhat. Obviously, we've got a loan policy that we've got to follow, but we do have some flexibility there. It's not as strict, as stringent as a secondary market loan. All of our loans we do in-house. We keep them in-house. They're portfolio loans for us, so we're not looking to sell those. So that does afford us the opportunity to have some flexibility. And like I said, being a community bank, that allows us the added flexibility of if something doesn't fit exactly right. Obviously, we've got to be respectful of returns and shareholder value and that kind of stuff. We're not going to do anything reckless. But we do have that capability to bend when needed.
Right.
Let's say somebody shows up, they're going to fix and flip a house, and they got 20% down. They've got a contractor that you guys know at the bank, and y'all worked with them before. All that seems good. What's the biggest mistake that most newbies make?
Underestimating the cost to renovate, especially in the recent environment. I know prices have started to come back down a little bit, but 3-4 months ago with lumber at all-time highs, and here lately with supply chain issues and windows taking 4 months and all that kind of stuff. Just because you could renovate a kitchen for $15,000 2 years ago, doesn't mean that same number applies. So that's the biggest mistake, I guess, is I've seen some newer investors make, because if you're only telling me you need X number of dollars and then you exceed that budget and you don't have that cash, it's got to come from somewhere. Right. So the last thing we want to do is go into a project knowing that there's not sufficient cash to finish the project.
And so let's say they estimate the repair cost to be $20,000. They spend their $20,000. They still have 10 to go.
Yeah.
And they come back to you. What do you tell them? And you've already funded the $20,000.
Yeah.
Do we go back to loan committee?
For the most part, depending on the dollar amount of the loan and that kind of stuff. But
if the value supports it.
That's right. In some instances, we may have to have the house reappraised to see if there's been additional bump in value. So at that point, it becomes a decision on you need $10,000, and I'm just making up a number. If it costs you $2,000 to redo the loan,
is that really worth it?
At what point does it make sense? So, but that's where ultimately it's the borrower's decision. So if we can make it happen, we will.
Is there a favorite type of loan or situation that you like to deal with, or certain ones that you like to avoid?
Favorite type of loan? I mean, really just anything helping folks start businesses. That's really that's what gets me excited.
Yeah.
Helping folks, like I said, start businesses, hiring employees, growing businesses. That's what's fun. Now, the ones that I don't like, and don't like's a strong word, but are more difficult. It's just like we talked about. The folks that come to you, their credit is bad. They have no cash, no experience. They may have a great idea, but at that point, you don't really need a banker. You need an investor. And so those are the hard ones. You buy into their idea, but there's just not a whole lot from a bank standpoint you can do. So obviously, before we tell someone no, we exhaust all resources. There's all sorts of government agencies out there that their sole purpose in life is to help entrepreneurs, start and grow businesses. So, we definitely reach out to those agencies to see if maybe it's a good fit for them. Mm-hmm. And at that point, if it's not, then, you got to pass the buck.
Right.
So that's the tough ones.
Okay.
You guys do SBA loans?
We do. Yeah.
Cool. What are some terms that we can expect? Let's say I want to go start a coffee shop.
Yeah.
What am I looking at?
So, if real estate is involved, we can go up to 25 years amortization on the real estate piece. Equipment, you can go up to 10 years, I believe. Mm-hmm. In some instances, a little bit longer than that, depending on useful life. But we do a lot of SBA loans. I just recently, last month, closed an SBA loan on an assisted living facility. That was a fun project to work on. It was a situation that obviously change of ownership, but you're talking about the jobs of about 50 people.
Oh, wow.
So it's
is that here locally or where is it?
A little bit south of us.
Okay.
But excellent opportunity for that person to buy the facility and save those jobs, and it was a really fun project to work on.
Cool. So you said south of us. How big is the lending footprint?
So generally, for First National, we can go 100 miles from any branch, and that's a 100-mile radius. So considering we've got an LPO, a loan production office in Chattanooga, I can go 100 miles north of Chattanooga, so that takes me to about Knoxville, maybe Nashville. I don't remember exactly, but we've got offices in Rome, so I can go 100 miles west. And then our furthest office is in Paulding County, down around Dallas. I can go 100 miles from there. And then our furthest office east, we really stay I-70. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. We generally stay I-75 corridor, so furthest office east would be Chatsworth. So that 100 miles would probably take me somewhere over into the Gainesville area.
Yeah. So if you're working with selling North Georgia, you pretty much got us covered.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, unless you guys, branch out into western Alabama and, getting up into the Carolinas.
We'd have to change the name.
Change the name. Can't do that. Have to get new cups, too.
That's right.
That's good.
So, yeah.
Awesome. So let's shift gears a little bit. Let's go. I'm really curious to hear what you have to say about this. So there was a headline, and I can't remember who it was from. Michael, I know that you remember, saying that crypto, maybe specifically Bitcoin, was, what do you say, worthless?
Worthless, yeah. Jamie Dimon.
Okay, yeah. So thoughts on that?
He's
agree,
a banker.
disagree?
You're a banker. What are your thoughts on crypto?
I do not think it's worthless. I think obviously worth is in the eye of the beholder. What makes a dollar worth a dollar? Somebody tells us it's worth a dollar. In our case, it's federal government. So, the days of gold and silver being stacked up are long gone. So, I do not think it's worthless. I do think it's a game changer for our industry. We have got to adapt to the technology. Blockchain technology is here to stay. It's too large of a market, in my opinion, to say it's worthless. I was looking around a little bit this morning in anticipation for this question, and there's like 8,700 different cryptocurrencies that's out there on the market right now. About $325 billion in market cap. You can't say that's worthless. From a use case standpoint, the technology is just it's too cutting edge, and it's the biggest thing I can relate it to. Take SWIFT is what it's called right now. So banks, when we wire money, so you come into the bank and you want to wire money to Japan. Okay, so you come in, we have to have that receiving bank's information. We've got to have all of your bank account information and so forth. So we have you sign, some forms. We send that information to a correspondent bank. That correspondent bank sends it to the bank in Japan. There's a currency conversion that goes on during that aspect. We're going to charge you an outgoing wire fee. It's probably about $20 since it's an international wire. The correspondent bank's going to charge a currency conversion fee. And then that receiving bank in Japan is going to charge your customer or whoever you're sending money to a fee. So just making up a number, if you got $20 from our side, $20 from that side, and probably a $15 to $20 currency conversion fee. So that transaction, regardless of the dollar amount, is probably going to cost $50 to $60. Okay, not to mention the time. So it's relatively quick. given the technology, but call it 24 hours a day, okay? So with crypto, I can sit on my couch at home at midnight and send somebody the same amount of money, and they've literally got it within seconds, and it costs me pennies. So
which you can do if you want. If you
Oh,
want to sit, if
absolutely.
you want to sit on your couch and
Absolutely.
send me specifically
Yes.
crypto,
Absolutely.
feel free.
Yeah, I'll get right on that.
Corey's ready to prove that aspect of what you just described.
Yeah.
He's like, let's try that tonight.
We got to make sure. We got to make sure.
So knowing that consumers have that capability, banks have got to embrace that technology, or we'll be left, in the Stone Age.
So,
it's
so I've
gotta
got two
happen.
reasons that Jamie would have said that then. Either he really likes collecting that $20 wire fee,
Yeah.
and he's trying to say crypto's worthless, so
Yeah.
stop doing that and wire money through my bank, or he's buying the dip.
Yeah, yeah. And
Very
there are
well,
significant
that
dips.
Jamie was trying to cause a dip so that he could buy the dip.
Yeah.
There you
So, and that's another aspect, what has to change within the industry. I think there's got to be regulation. And as a conservative, I hate regulation. But with the deregulation and the decentralized model of cryptocurrency, that's why you see the volatility that you do. So, people are scared to death of it right now because of the volatility. So I think there's got to be regulation for it to be adopted on a wide scale. And until you get that regulation and the mass adoption, you're going to continue to have, the wild swings, up 1,000%, down 100%, and that's what scares folks.
Right.
So,
I think fear of change too. That's
That's
definitely a theme for our day. We had
Yeah.
our mastermind meeting this morning, and
yeah.
Nathan was leading the discussion about in our industry as realtors, just how do you adapt, with technology and everything. And,
Sure.
And what he was saying was people are often so resistant to that change that, you're going to crash and burn if you do not embrace it. So
That's right.
do you think that that's the general, mood consensus in your world? Are people really unsure and skeptical of crypto, or what?
I would say it depends on demographic. Your older bankers, are in that segment that is, I don't understand it, so I'm scared of it. Your folks that are willing to put in the time to research it and understand, hey, this can improve things. Those are the ones that need to continue to push to drive that change. There's a lot of talk. I know China, is developing, a national digital currency. A lot of discussion, with the U.S. developing a digital currency. I think it's coming. It just is. I don't think there's a way to avoid it. Too many people want it.
Yeah, too far along to
That's
turn
right,
back.
to abandon it. Yeah.
So digital currency is a good segue to my next question.
Yeah.
What does the bank do when the government decides we want to track every transaction that's more than $600? What does
Wow.
the bank do for that?
I will tell you my personal opinion, and I will tell you the general consensus from some of our senior management at the bank. Not a bank opinion, talking personal opinions. It is a gross overreach of privacy. It is a power grab. The bank lobby groups, specifically American Bankers Association, Georgia Bankers Association, Community Bankers Association, everyone is fighting it tooth and nail. So for those that may not know, it's not law yet, but there are a lot of discussions around banks being required to furnish to the IRS consolidated financial data for any account that has a value of over $600. That's a lot of folks. That's a lot of bank accounts. So basically what they're asking banks to do is to issue a 1099 INT. That's the statement that you would normally get if you earned interest of more than $10 on any kind of bank account. And they're wanting to add 2 more boxes to it. So top box would be total deposits. Second box will be total withdrawals. And from what I've read, what I can gather, what they're after is if an individual, say they have W-2 income of 50 grand, but they make total deposits into their checking account of 75 grand. Well, where did that extra $25,000 come from? And they're
Bitcoin.
That's right. So they're looking for, potential income that they can tax. So that's your yard sale income. That's your selling, a couch, selling a car, whatever. I don't feel like that's any of the government's right to know. As far as what it's going to do to banks, oh my goodness, just the sheer amount of data that's going to require us to turn over. It don't come free.
Right.
Data, it's expensive for us to consolidate. Obviously, we pay a third-party vendor for data management and collection. So, that's going to make our operating costs go up. From a compliance standpoint, the cost to banks, especially community banks, it's going to be enormous. And, all of your old school, bank operating efficiency ratios and that kind of stuff, you can throw all that out the window because this is something that's, we've never experienced. So
I would have to think that it would also lead to my free checking account being my $25 a month checking account, right?
I would hope it doesn't get that severe, but it's
when you think about it, like you just said $600, that's 99.9% of the people that you have at your bank. There's going to be folks like my dad who literally don't put any money in the bank and never draw anything out. He's not going to get reported, but he's like 1 in a million, I can't imagine the amount of effort it would take to put all that together.
And of course the federal government, they're not bankers. They don't understand, what it takes to accumulate that data. So, to them it's, we'll just mash a button on a keyboard and, you got it. So it's real simple, but, that's not the case. But like I said, my personal opinion, it's just it's an overreach, a line that doesn't need to be crossed.
And if this is something that's happening, how soon is this?
It's being proposed now as part of the what is it? The
Build Back Better program.
That's the acronym I was
$3.5 trillion budget item that's on the Congress floor right now. So
it's being debated. Like I said, all of our industry lobby groups are pushing extremely hard against it. Governor Kemp has, for Georgia, obviously has issued a public statement saying he is opposed to it and will fight it tooth and nail for Georgia banks. But when the federal government mandates it, I don't know how that'll play out. I'm sure if this bill passes, I'm sure there will be lawsuits around the country, from the various states that are going to fight it. So, to be determined, and it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out.
So you mentioned Governor Kemp and Georgia, and we are the Selling North Georgia team. So we often get phone calls from people that are in Florida or wherever, Mississippi, Kentucky, looking to move to this area. So what is it that makes the Ramsey family live here in Georgia? What do you like about this area?
Well, born and raised, for one. I've never called anywhere else home. All of my family's from here. Emily's family's from here. Dalton specifically, it's a small town feel. It's where we wanted to raise our kids. You're close enough for big cities if that's your thing. If you want the nightlife or whatever. From a geographic standpoint, you're 6 hours to the beach. You're 2 hours to the mountains. Everything is in close proximity. But like I said, more than that, it's just it just feels like home.
Yeah, we often get asked what is there to do in Dalton, or somebody out of town wants to know why they would want to live here.
Yeah.
Maybe the husband is getting transferred to a carpet manufacturer, or maybe the wife's coming to work at one of these places, and they're like, okay, if I have to move my family here, what do we do? So what's a fun Friday night look like for the Ramsey family with two kiddos that are
football season or not?
Yeah, for real.
So obviously football season, you've got some great athletes at various schools, so that's always fun. non-football season, it's we're pretty boring. Netflix and chill kind of, but there's all kinds of stuff. Obviously, parks nearby, several state parks in close proximity as far as nightlife. I mean, a lot of activity around the mill, your axe throwing and great restaurants downtown. Burr Park, during your warmer months is constantly having, concerts, their concert series. So, there is plenty to do in Dalton specifically for folks that want that.
Yeah.
All right, to wrap it up, you mentioned, is it football season or not when you're talking about what the family's up to. So tell us who's going to win the game on Saturday between the Dogs and the Wildcats.
Oh, man, that's an easy one. Dogs on top by at least 17.
We have a winner.
Oh, well, I think the spread's 24, so the Dogs are not covering the spread for the first time.
I think it's going to be a battle. Kentucky's legit. But, Ladd McConkey's going to come out, and he's going to pick up a couple TDs, I bet. And I just don't think our defense can be stopped.
Dogs on top, 17.
Yep,
you heard it here
that's
first.
my prediction.
All right, fair enough.
Fair enough. Brad, thank you for coming out talking with us. Learned a lot of good info about what you're up to over at First National Community Bank.
Sir.
That's a mouthful. How can people get in touch with you if they need your help?
Yeah, so cell phone number 706-270-4752. Welcome to call or text on that number anytime, or email is brad.ramsey@fncbank.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, he does not realize that we have millions of viewers watching this show.
That is fine.
There's his cell phone number. He talked about accessibility earlier. There you go.
Yeah, that's right.
Your business is about to blow up.
I hope so.
On that note, thank you guys for watching. We will see you next week. I'm Corey Shields.
I'm Michael Williams.
See ya.